and they collect a lot of leaves to make tea. You can smell that. And so this tea is for the new mother to drink and to bathe in. In this way she purifies her body after the pregnancy.
And what's the name of it?
It's the genus Hediosmum. One Spanish name is limoncillo. It smells a little bit like lemon.
A little bit.
Hediosmum.
Can you smell it?
A little bit. I'm kind of stuffy this spray.
Palm that will never have a long trunk. It's got really resistant leaves, and this is one of the best for making the roof of a house. Right?
It's also the very best magnet for wasps and bees.
Aha.
Well,
They get in there and you can't get rid of them.
they've got yellow jackets here somewhere.
Yeah, not connected to the rest of the monkey. It's the new leaf of the tree fern. Right? As it grows, it unrolls, forming these big leaves. This is the main type of tree that existed in the time of the dinosaurs, and it's still here 65 million years later.
How long does it take? What's the life cycle from the time it years until it dies?
Well, till it dies, I'm not sure.
A year or two?
But, for example, in a month, this one is going to be this high.
Oh, okay.
Right? And here's one that's still unrolling. You can see that one that's still unrolling out to the tips. Here's one that's sort of halfway the length.
But multiple tree ferns like this, aren't they indicative of the secondary growth forest?
Multiple what?
Multiple large tree ferns, are they not indicative of the secondary growth forest?
No.
Not down
these
here.
were all brought down and planted. Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
that's what I mean.
Yeah, and so if this had been pasture that was just abandoned, there would be just a handful of species, and tree fern wouldn't be one of them. This vine back here is an orchid. It's the orchid that gives us vanilla for cake and ice cream. It's the actual vanilla plant. What we consume in the form of extract is the fruit. It looks like a little bean pod, and that's what vainilla means in Spanish.
You know, I saw a vanilla plantation
Aha,
in Ecuador. No, in Costa Rica.
aha.
It's kind of neat. It
Yeah.
smelled wonderful.
I bet it did.
I'm sure. Pollinated by hummingbirds,
Yeah,
Right?
a little bit.
mainly by euglossine bees.
Let me hold it.
Bees
I
that
got
look
this one.
like emeralds.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. It just opened and it's already been chewed on.
Someone just couldn't wait.
Morete. This is why there's a people called Achuar.
It's
Right.
the achu.
In Shuar and Achuar, Morete is called Achu. Achuar is a contraction that means people of the Morete. Very important in Amazonia because it's the only species of tree that can live where the land is flooded with stagnant water almost all year, right? Or all year. In the hills next door where we have no flooding, there's the greatest diversity of trees in the world with up to 400 species in a hectare, right? The most diverse natural forest in North America, which is in California.
And by North
Yes.
America means north of Rio Grande.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, not Mexico. Yes,
Or Central
geographically, it would be everything from the Tehuantepec north,
I haven't heard that word.
Istmo de Tehuantepec, just north of
Ah.
the Yucatan Peninsula.
Oh, the. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the. It's in Canada.
Uh-huh.
Is in California, and there's 20 species in a hectare, right? So here only 20 times more.
Wow.
Right, and you think about what that means is that in that hectare, lots and lots of the species are represented by a single tree in that hectare. Right, Morete is also the source of 3 exquisite foods. The heart of palm is really delicious and really big.
Oh, I love
The
hard
fruit
palm.
is sweet and sour, and the most delicious food we get 2 months after cutting the tree down. We come back with axes and machetes, split open the tree trunk. In the spongy part inside, we now find lots of beetle larvae.
Yeah, we eat
This
those.
big, really good to cook and eat.
The consistency, though. I had it. Oh, it's a huge
Yeah,
sensor.
it all depends on people's tastes, right? And
Tastes
a lot
like
of
butter.
people would also say, oh no, we're not savages, we don't eat insect larvae. But they're arthropods not so different from shrimp, right?
Yeah.
We don't think twice about eating shrimp,
We don't
but
think-
these beetle larvae are living in a totally clean place in the middle of the tree trunk, in the middle of nature, very different from modern shrimp ponds with all the wastewater and the chemicals that go straight into the shrimp pond.
We don't think much about eating honey either.
Yeah.
Honey? Because of the chemicals?
Well, but I mean, where does it come from? I
Look at
mean,
this.
bee byproducts.
What is this one right here with just the purple and the thing?
Uh-huh. This is one, it's another aroid.
Magnificent.
It's an aroid, and it's a crop that the Shuar plant. It's called one choop in Shuar, and it's got a potato similar to taro root,
Papachina.
similar to papachina, and also has some nice little flowers, but they're not showing up right now. Years in its lifetime to get into better light. This one, the seed sprouted exactly here. I know because the stem is smooth, right? The spiny legs have walked a few centimeters to the left toward where there's more light, right, in this case.
Where's this?
The first stem was right here, is still right there. Watch out for the spines on the others. This is the new root that has just recently opened up from the trunk and reached down to the soil, right? And now it has its sharp spines, right?
Used
People
for
use to
grading.
grate things,
Yeah.
right? What do these spines do for the tree? They defend it against the Pleistocene megafauna, mastodons, mammoths, giant ground
Really?
sloths. There were over 25 species that each animal weighed over 1,000 kilograms, more than a ton. Those animals would want to push these trees over to get to the heart of palm, right? And all those animals were driven to extinction by people overhunting them only 15,000 years ago when people arrived in America. 15,000 years was a very short time in the evolution of trees, so they still have their defenses.
Wait for it.
What's this?
The dark.
No, but I'll bet it's something a hummingbird would like.
It's a hummingbird flower. It's a mistletoe flower.
Really?
Right, because there's species of mistletoe here that are pollinated by hummingbirds, right?
But aren't they
Ours are.
poisonous?
Yeah, you don't want to chew on mistletoe. Yeah, and so this is a really good example of a hummingbird flower because it's bright red, tubular, so that only the hummingbird can get to the nectar, right? And no smell, right? And you might start looking for a hummingbird with a bill this long, but normally the bill goes about halfway down the flower and the tongue the other half. And mistletoe is one of the few groups that's actually really parasitic,
Yeah.
right? They
On
get
the
growing
tree.
on the tree and they're actually absorbing goodies out of the tree. Here are 4 of these walking palms that sprouted out all together and have
yeah.
since walked each one in their own direction, looking for more light, right? Especially the runt of the litter. This one here ended up in the shade of his brothers and has walked over half a meter into better light.
Wow.
Here's its new root, still very reddish.
Yeah, I see it from here. Way cool.
Looks like a rusty pipe.
And then these little ones about. These are just.
Yeah,
little ones.
the little ones are kind of weird. I don't know if there's an exact explanation on the little
Well, there's
root.
no way it's going to do it. It isn't going to grow real big just because there's no
Yeah.
space.
I'm sure it's just going after more nutrients. But You can see how it walks. You know, the tree leans in the direction it wants to go.
And then the weight
Puts
comes
out
under it.
more roots,
The
and
support
then
comes under
gets
it.
out into light, and it can grow up.
Mm.
Right. And this is the source of fibers for making Panama hats, which of course aren't from Panama. They're from Ecuador.
Because Roosevelt went there. He had one of these hats and he was in Panama. No, he went to Panama. He got one of an Ecuadorian hat. And the name stuck.
Ah, because of Roosevelt.
I think so.
Huh, wow.
Well, they actually cultivate these, right?
Yeah, you can cultivate it, it grows quickly, and the leaves are also used for making roofs, only they don't last even half as long as the palm leaf that we saw.
But are they lethal? I mean, are they poisonous, the leaves?
No, none of these ones that we use for roofs are poisonous. It would be nice if they were, then maybe fewer things would eat them. Yeah, this palm tree over here has huge spines that we don't want to touch because the tips will break off in your skin and get all fermented, all infected.
That's the infamous escoa tree.
This is the chambira,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is the chambira. This is the one for making string, right? To make that string for the hammock and the fishnet and everything, you have to find the new leaf when it looks like a spear. I think there's one forming now. You want to cut that, take it apart. From each leaflet, you get the leaf membrane off the top that looks like plastic. Boil it in water, dry it in the sun, and then two fibers are spun on the naked leg like this and like this, and if you know what you're doing, it comes out just like factory string. Right?
But it's not called the escoa tree?
No, the one for escobas is that one,
Ah.
right? That's called fibra, right? And it's got that fiber that comes off on its own from the leaf bases. You don't have to kill the tree. You just go out in the forest and collect the fiber, take it to town and sell it. People make brooms out of it.
Mm.
Talking about this stuff. It's the same stuff.
It didn't fall. I just caught my balance like this, and there was a leaf from this there, and I got over 50 spines into my hand, right? And more than a week later, I had this irritation here, and I don't know why, you know, I didn't logically think, oh, there's still a spine there, but I went to the doctor and he started messing with it and found the spine and started pulling and pulling and pulling. The spine was over 1 centimeter long.
So
And,
you wear gloves now?
well, I'm just more careful.
Yeah.
And what the Quechua Indians do when they get that, and this is what I did too, to get those spines out, you know, 'cause they break off down in the middle of your flesh, right?
Yeah, they're very weak.
Cooking oil on. The cooking oil makes it infect more, and then the pus pushes the spines out.
That's
Inchwar, and it's a legume with really bitter bark, and really good for the liver, right? So one of the things that this makes extract from. This is the one that makes a really hard wood for spears, blowguns, posts and walls of the slaughterhouse. It also has stilt roots, but it doesn't walk.
Can we have one? Just kidding. It'll be really fun to work with that wood. It looks.
But you couldn't get that back in the States.
Oh,
Yeah,
of
you
course
can.
not. I can.
I mean, people take spears back made with this.
Yeah, they
You
do.
can get almost anything.
Yeah, I mean,
online.
you just
It's true.
it goes with your checked luggage. I mean, you don't get to carry it on because you know you could hijack the plane with your spear. You know,
Well, but I mean,
or they're gonna think that you're gonna hijack.
They're so
I do
paranoid.
some woodworking, and you can get almost anything online if you have got the cash to pay for it.
Legal or illegal.
Well, most of it is at least legal to some extent. You know,
It's kind of legal.
but you know they have incredible woods, but you just I can't afford to buy them to work with them.
Huh. This is called curarina. It's the most important plant for snake bite, especially the pain, right, which is very intense. And
Yeah.
it's used in a similar way to the wild onion that we saw.
Do you use the leaf or do you use the
It's
flowery?
different parts. different parts, and it's the raw juice again.
Ah,
Do you use the fruit?
Different parts. I don't know all the details.
Because that looks really interesting up there.
Yeah, I was very curious. Those will turn yellow. And the flowers almost never open for pollination. But apparently, one time we did see an insect going in. This looks like a palm, but it's an orchid.
wow.
How can you tell the number of leaves or the
We
width of
just
the
know
leaf?
it, and it flowers from time to time, so we know exactly that it's the genus Palm Orchis.
Really? Cool.
And this is in the daisy family. They're the medicinal plant. It's called cat's claw. In Spanish, uña de gato. This is a very good medicine for purifying the body, reducing swelling, even for combating cancer, arthritis, stomach ulcers, prostate inflammation. Lots of different things in combination with
Sounds
other
like an
plants.
old man's plant.
So you just swallow it, or do you make
You make
tea out of
a
it?
decoction, a concentrated extract of the bark mainly, right? And you
Not
want
not this,
no, not the spine.
but the bark.
And this is still really young. This is no good yet.
So where's its mother?
Back here somewhere. This is all the same
Ah, yeah.
plant here, and and so you want to take about 3 tablespoons of the extract per day. And sometimes my wife has it ready and bottled to sell, but she doesn't have it today. But I suspect she's got it in her bottles and just needs to bottle it into the 250 milliliter bottle. Here, this is the genus Costus, and the stem looks a little bit like sugar cane. In Spanish it's called sour cane because it's not sweet, it's acidic. We can drink this juice to help purify the blood, get the kidneys working right, and to lower high blood pressure.
What do you mean by purified blood?
Good question.
Remove toxins.
Yeah, remove toxins. Get the blood actually does get infected with different things, and so it's helping to
Septicemia.
clearing stuff out, and it usually is not infected with anything, but occasionally you even have bacteria and stuff in the blood, right? Yeah, and
Well, that's what basically our lymphatic system does, is strain all of that dead and bad stuff out, and detoxify it with leukocytes that have lipases that break down
The intruder.
foreign proteins.
and so this helps that whole process, and one of the contrasts that Teresa makes is that all these plants are working with the body's defenses instead of steamrolling on top. Yeah. Right in the wrong place. And I want you to identify it by the taste.
Oh, this must be one of the cinnamon trees.
Ciudad Canela.
Check it out. This is the actual cinnamon tree.
That puyo is actually called the Ciudad Canela. At least that's the
current
term.
mayor.
The
Yeah.
current. Let's see. Wait till the next mayor. It'll have a different name.
And so what you buy in the store is the inside of the bark, usually ground up. And this is one of the things that the Spanish conquistadores were most looking for, because they would sell cinnamon in Europe for its weight in gold
Wow.
500 years ago. And most of that cinnamon came from this part of Amazonian Ecuador, mainly between Puyo and Tena. And
That's wonderful.
yeah,
Why only certain leaves?
because they have to be the mature leaves. If you were to chew on this one, which is new, it's going to be bitter, and there's no way you would identify it as cinnamon.
Really.
Yeah. Right. But this one is only this big. Right. This is called Guayacan. This is one of the most beautiful woods in the world. It's very hard, very shiny. It's got a mix of dark brown and golden brown, and grows really slowly. Right? In the United States, you cut a tree down, anyone can know the exact age, counting the dark rings that form each winter. Here we don't have winter.
Look at the butterfly.
Oh, I missed it.
It's only with
Beautiful.
carbon-14 that people are starting to
It's when you're living.
estimate that there's Amazonian trees over 1,400 years old.
Wow, older than sequoias.
No? Well, how old do the sequoias get? I think they get
They're
to 2,000.
They're 2 or 3,000.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind.
But getting up there.
Yeah,
getting up there.
old.
Well, is
And,
this one, is it because it doesn't have access to the light, or is it just very slow growing?
Well, I mean, it's not that bad on light, right? It doesn't have that much shade, not like being in primary forest, right? And the point is that the wood grows really slowly.
So it's very hard and very strong.
Exactly. And the trees that grow really fast have really soft wood, right?
Eucalyptus.
When you're going online and looking for all the fancy woods, let's try and stay away from the fine tropical timbers. They all come from where someone's made a new road and they're cutting down the trees for the first and last time in anyone's memory. Yeah. Right? They're basically non-renewable resources.
You know, I don't use any of those for that reason. And, you know, what we have done, my most recent project was cypress.
Oh.
They can be skittish.
Yeah.
It has these heart-shaped leaves,
Yeah.
right? And this is really big medicine. When it's maybe this big and has darker, more concentrated sap, that sap is very astringent. It's excellent for wounds on the skin, insect bites, acne, most things on the skin, including psoriasis, right? Especially mixed with the same person's blood serum.
Really?
Yeah, that carries the tree sap deeper into the pores, and one of the most abundant things in people's blood serum is urea, right? Which is antiseptic, right? And it's a skin moisturizer.
And they use it in perfumes and all sorts of things.
Right. Now, the fruit that
You
this
walk
produces
up, you walk-
looks like a peach when it's ripe, and that's why it's called peach palm in English. In
Let's-
Spanish, it's called chontaduro, right?
If you come over here,
You can see it on the screen here.
Yeah, that's here.
There's only healthy bacteria. We can't live without those bacteria.
Oh, something different.
Almost all disease bacteria would die during the fermentation. And if we're so worried about the bacteria in someone else's mouth, why do people kiss? Right? And normally it's mom doing the chewing for dad and the kids, who she also kisses.
Unless you visit the village, in which case it's all obligatory to drink a stranger's saliva.
And,
But it doesn't taste bad. It does not taste bad.
right, and I bet you never got sick from it,
It did not.
right?
I
And,
got sick from the peccary though.
It was smoked,
Yeah, it was
supposedly
smoked.
smoked.
But they gave me some bark off of a tree like an hour later. I was fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
You don't know what bark it was?
Nope. I just drank what the CVR lady gave me.
Only, it's of course not a cedar. There's no native cedars to here. From a couple of more steps, we can see the big
aren't there
compound
some-
leaves.
Aren't there some junipers here?
No, the only conifer is Podocarpus, the only native one, and the sun's in just the wrong place. But you can see the big compound leaves.
Yeah.
Obviously, no conifer, but the wood looks like and smells like cedar wood to some extent. And the Spaniards were getting it from their slaves for decades before they ever saw the tree. They thought they were getting cedar wood, right? And This is the best tree for making a dugout canoe. Tree.
Because it is long and strong.
Right, and the main thing is that the wood is very resistant and not so heavy. Right, so it's more buoyant and doesn't decompose fast in the water. Right, and so no one knows how old those trees are. You know, they get converted into canoes, but you know they're this big. And what we do know is that there's now no trees that big of this species within kilometers of any navigable river. Because what they do is cut the tree down in the middle of the forest and get all their friends to drag it all the way to the river. Right? And a dugout canoe with an outboard motor on the back of it can often only last 5 to 10 years because of all the beating it's getting. Right? After the tree probably grew for 500 or 1,000 years. You know, who knows? Nobody knows
But
how many years to
you
get
know,
this big.
it was sustainable until we got there.
Right, to a large degree. You know, and like I say, especially it's the outboard motors that thrash them. Right. If people are paddling, you know, they're going at a lower speed. They get to a log. Okay, we got to get it over this log. Everybody out. Let's pull it over. But if you're going really fast with an outboard motor,
Just ran right through it.
yeah,
I
just
mean,
smash into it.
We
Now-
have a house on the river.
This tree here is very interesting. It's got the whole head of the tree bowed down, right? But not out of shame.
To face the sun.
No, this is just the way it grows. The whole tip on this tree that's hanging down, that whole new tip of the tree, is only 2 months old. It all came out of one bud. The contents of that bud hung straight down and expanded 3 times as long as the bud, straight down like a rag. Only gradually does it stiffen and lift up. In 6 months it's at this angle and it does it again. This is a phenomenon only found in tropical forests called pouring out foliage. Right? And it's an interesting thing in the face of herbivory by the insects. Right? Because the insects can't be sitting there waiting for the bud to open. Right? If they find the tender new leaves, once they're open, they can't eat them all before they harden.
We need to get off
Right.
the path so these people can get well.
Not get pregnant for 1 or 2 or 3 months, depending on the recipe. If the woman takes a stronger dose every month,
Does it make her amenorrheic?
I'm not exactly sure what all it does, right? But if she takes a stronger dose every month for more than 3 months, no more children ever. Much more sophisticated than what they do in the modern hospital. You'll
Attest.
attest to this, I think. That
Yeah.
right, in the modern hospital, they put women under anesthesia. They can die just of the anesthesia not being done right. They cut them open in their most delicate part and start tying things up.
Not really, not anymore.
Not anymore. What do?
You know, normally what we do, and we do very few tubal ligations anymore.
Really? Because they're really common here.
Well, sometimes in, you know, if it's a if it's an intrapartum cesarean section, they'll still tie the tube and cut a portion out. But normally now, most permanent sterilization is either done by laparoscopy, where we make 5 millimeter incision in the umbilicus,
Yeah?
and then one suprapubic, we go in and either put a clip across the tube or cauterize the tube itself. And with the idea that we don't want to interrupt the surrounding blood supply. In addition, nowadays they're using things that actually enter the fallopian tube through the uterine cavity and plug off the tube. And that's done in the office.
Plug off the fallopian tube?
From
And-
the inside.
But how does that work? It swims
There's
upstream?
there's no tubes ever.
There's no way for the sperm to get to the egg if the
No,
tube
but
is
how
plugged.
does that apparatus get into place?
Hysteroscopically. You
Tube.
use
Okay.
an instrument that looks inside the uterus, so you point it toward the tube and visually insert it into the tube.
Oh wow. Huh.
So,
And then he also, and
but
then,
probably you're right. Probably here it's still done by the old incision and.
Huh. And what's that called? Sticking that cork in.
Just a minute, and I'll tell you. I'm an old man. I have temporal.
Hey.
That's all right. Yeah.
what about when
Asia probably. We girdled it,
oh, I see.
and the termites have later come to finish it off.
Wow.
These are all the soldier termites coming out to rip hell with me. Only they can't do very much. Just yesterday, I cut the roots that were connecting back down,
Mm-hmm.
and
Why don't y'all just cut it down?
if we cut it down, it would probably squash one of our other trees that we want,
Yeah.
and it would sprout back up from the root with a vengeance, right?
Ah.
So in this case, the roots die first, and the tree comes down bit by bit, much lighter once it's dried out. And
Very ingenious.
and so, and a lot less work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we want to favor this ficus. This is a native ficus called Sunday. The white milky sap is really good for stomach ulcers and also for applying externally on sprained joints. Yeah, really effective. Called Sunday.
It's an anti-inflammatory that doesn't damage the GI tract.
Right. Ovary. I'm sorry, uterus. And why is it called uterus? Because the shape of the fruit is round little fruit with a cervix on the end. Right? And it's a very hard fruit and very yeah?
Are you talking about the one that looks like a pineapple?
The palm tree.
No, this palm tree with the huge fronds.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's this one here, there's another one back there, it's the same
Yeah,
species.
yeah.
And this is one of the palm fronds that the Waorani used to make their house, which is built very quickly and falls apart very quickly. Right? From the base of the leaf, they get the fibers for the blowgun dart. Right? When it's older, it starts to produce a fruit, which is only this big, one big seed with 1 millimeter of an oily food on the outside. We can dissolve this into water and make a drink very similar to hot chocolate if we sweeten it. Right? The oil pure is really good for your hair. It strengthens the hair, avoiding split ends and hair loss. And we have that oil ready.
Too late for me. Hair
No.
loss is
You
already
can always
happening.
hang on to what you got. And this is
As
the
long as
pasture
my wife
grass.
doesn't care, I'll be fine.
This is the pasture grass that was all over our property at the beginning of the process.
Mm-hmm. And there's not much. of it.
Gramalote in Spanish.
There's a little patch of sun there.
Exactly. It grows where it's getting more light. How are we doing?
Doing good.
Collect and throw far away the bad energies when they do shamanic cleansing.
Is it really a grass?
It's really a grass. It's a little bit toward the bamboos, which are also grasses.
Yeah, I knew that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's a C4.
And so the shaman uses it mainly just as a tool, sort of. It's much more the strength of the shaman, the power of the shaman, than
So
anything in the
it's
plant.
the spirituality of the user.
Right. It's my theory is that they select this plant because it's a good rattle. It rattles a lot when you shake it.
Kind of like me.
Planted or just sections of the stem stuck in the ground. In 8 to 12 months, it's really big, ready to pull out of the ground, and there's going to be 5 or more big manioc roots. Right?
Which one is it? The corn or that one
No, it's
with the 5 leaves?
Ah, yeah, it's this one here,
Yeah.
right? Looking a little bit like marijuana,
yeah.
right? And
Not
The-
that I've ever seen it, of course.
uh,
You know.
and the the food inside manioc is almost 100% starch. So when this gets cooked and mashed up, part of it is chewed and put back.
That's
It ferments really well.
This is the manioc.
Right.
It's the rice of the Orient. The
Yes.
Oriente.
And so it ferments really well. The next day, it's very sweet. It's like sweetened yogurt. This is the sweet manioc beer that women and children drink all the time.
All the time.
And only fermenting a longer time or with other ingredients at the beginning, it makes more alcohol, stronger taste. This is what men are drinking, especially at festivities and work parties. Right?
When guests come.
Right. And this one behind it is a relative to ginger. And the tea is really good for making, the leaf is really good for making a tea to bathe in, especially when people have certain internal problems. This is very refreshing for the internal organs.
Very refreshing.
And it's called cumbia, not to be confused with cumbia dance music, right? And it has a fruit that's edible when it turns ripe, and
Fell in there.
now this is a chote. It's mainly still flowering right now. I think we don't have any fruit.
There's some pink flowers and some
Yeah,
things that look like a.
right. Nothing ready to show you yet, but when that fruit is ripe, we open it up, and around each seed there's something almost identical to women's lipstick. Right? This is really good for painting the skin, and it's really good for the skin. It's moisturizing, good for sunburns, good on diaper rash on babies.
There's a little red. Yeah, these red.
Right. Yeah, they're
Berries.
not ready yet.
There's one up there.
Yeah. It's actually really flexible. These here are from the previous cycle, and they're no good. They're all dried up and they're full of ants. And ayahuasca, this is the main psychotropic plant that Amazonian Indians use to get visions, right? And these aren't its leaves. Its leaves are way up on the top of the tree in the sun. Have you ever heard of this? Ayahuasca. What they prepare, what they cook up is the stem itself together with other plants. They cook it sort of all day until it's very bitter. And the expert who's leading you through the process gives you a small amount. You drink that at 7 o'clock at night. In about 2 hours, it produces violent vomiting, diarrhea. It's hard to use your knees, so it's hard to walk. And if the person has prepared properly,
I understand as well.
it could be.
But
Yeah.
you eat it, and then a couple of hours later, you're violently ill.
Wow. Yeah, I hadn't heard about that with peyote.
Yeah.
And so if the person prepared properly, fasting for days, right, and the dose is right, it's like a television screen lighting up in your head, and you see all these images, right, pieces of your future and other mysteries and other bits of information, power and knowledge.
Wow.
And so you just concentrate on all these images, and by the time dawn comes around, you haven't slept at all, but you're basically ready to go back to your activities. And, yeah.
And so, like, what did you see when you did it?
Well, that's a big question. You see lots of things, and one thing they always emphasize is that the first few times you don't see as much as later on when you take it subsequent times.
You mean not when you add more doses at the first time, but
And when they're all pulled up there, got to get rid of them. Yeah, the surprising and interesting, right? And they prepare it with lots of other plants, depending on why they're taking it exactly.
Is there an occasion, or is it a rite of passage, or why do people take it?
It's not exactly a rite of passage. Other groups, only shamans take it, and people training to be shamans. Among the Shuar, everyone takes it, starting at about 5 years of age traditionally.
What?
Right? And of course, a 5-year-old, you only give a little bit, and it's watered down, right? But they start taking it. And the main times to take it is when there's a big decision to be made, right? And also all these different uses of the plants, right? People often wonder how they figure these out, right? And so a lot of it is, them applying their medical concepts. We need something that's astringent. This is astringent. Let's try this, that kind of thing. But they explain that a lot of the medicinal plants were taught to them by ayahuasca.
Really?
Yeah, and it's a curious comparison too, because from our European background, we find a plant that makes us vomit. That's basically all we want to know about the plant. Okay, we'll use it sometime to wash out somebody's stomach, right? But the ancestors of the Shuar went on to learn how to combine it with all these other plants and get visions and get the direct line on all this information, right? And there's a lot of times in which all these things get confirmed. Like, for example, Shuar women have magical stones that they find. They dream about them with or without the plants. They dream that there's a stone in such and such place. They go there, find the stone, right? And in the dream, I think it's explained to them what the stone is going to be for, because they have different stones. They have stones for growing the manioc. They have stones for growing other things. In the present day, they even have stones for raising chickens. And these stones get buried secretly in the garden. Only the woman knows where they are, right? And they're protecting her plants and her chickens.
Wow.
The name of that procedure to go in through the cervical os is called Eshur.
Eshur, with an SH in there?
E-S-U-R.
Them through the cracks in the wall.
Yeah.
And it's only after the conversation the owner of the house would ask the first wife to bring the drink, mainly this chewed manioc beer.
The chicha.
Right, chicha. And she drinks first, she gives some to her husband, then to each visitor, and once again to the husband, to prove that there's no poison. Only in that way do visitors drink.
And when you're offered the chicha, you give it to the person that give it back to the person that gave it to you, not to the person next to you. So they can wipe the bowl.
Right. And only informally would you pass it to someone else to help you out drinking it.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
It's very tasty, right? No, it has a good incense.
The fruit is edible. It's a tasty fruit. Not a lot of food on it, but very nutritious. The resin is inflammable.
Really?
We can start fires with it. We can use it as incense, and it makes varnish on ceramics. This and similar species. You get the ceramics out of the fire while they're still burning hot. You rub it with the resin, and one layer of varnish melts onto the whole pot.
Not the first time you tried it.
Maybe.
Probably tastes like
And to yerba mate, that the Argentines drink all the time, mate tea. Okay, it's got a lot of something real similar to caffeine, only in contrast to coffee, it's good for you, makes your body stronger. In the case of women, this plant makes them have more fertility. So this is one of the main plants that Teresa uses for that, right? They use it in many different ways. One of the most surprising is that every morning at about 4 o'clock, they drink all the tea they can, and then they vomit, right? Once again, you might be thinking, no thank you, but this is very helpful. This is getting rid of everything that didn't digest from the day before, and in particular getting rid of all the excess phlegm that builds up in your stomach during the night, right? So they start out each day fresh and clean. According to them, this is one of the main reasons that they could live over 100 years, because they were keeping their body very clean. And the Achuar, who are more traditional than the Shuar, still do this every day in general.
Have there been any cases of autism or cancer?
Traditionally,
Yeah.
or recent cases being
Both.
treated?
Both. I mean, do the Shuar that live in the rainforest get autism?
I don't think so. I don't know of any cases of autism. Other birth defects there can be. One family member has a 4-year-old with cerebral palsy or something.
Well, that's that.
Yeah.
But that
That's
in
a
general.
That's a chromosome, isn't
No,
it?
that
No.
in general is birth trauma or pre-birth trauma.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I was suspecting. But the
And
mother,
anoxia along the way
Right.
somewhere.
right?
What about
Oxy?
Anoxia.
Oh, right,
Didn't
lack
get
of
it,
oxygen.
did- yeah.
Yeah.
what about
And-
cancer?
Cancer, I think, traditionally did not exist. Our concept, is open to correction, is that cancer is caused by chemicals. Yeah,
But I don't think
And-
anybody knows. I would have to disagree with that. Well, I just don't think we know. And cancer is not a monolithic disease.
Right.
I mean, there are so many different cancers and different kinds of cancers and different families of cancer. I mean, I know that, the cancers I get on my hands and on my face are from the sun.
the sun. Right.
And that's because I have lighter skin. I didn't take
Right,
after
but
my
you're
mother's
also-
family. I took after my European side.
And
But you're attacking your skin with soap that
Yeah.
people didn't have traditionally.
well,
Well,
It-
but for the last few thousand years, they've used something to wash with. Either
But not soap made with all the chemicals they use now that no one even knows what they're from.
that's probably true. And I don't know enough about the history of skin cancer. I mean, I know the history of mine, but
One that was this color, only that one was red on top too. This is a wild variety. That one is cultivated and very good for urinary tract infections, kidney problems. We can make tea with it, only it's not necessary. We can squeeze the juice right out of the
Wow.
plant. Right? Looks like red wine. The taste, of course, different from red wine. You can taste it if you want. No
Is it
pressure.
disgusting?
No, not a strong taste.
Tastes like rotten mushrooms.
no, it doesn't.
I didn't get it. It didn't taste at all.
Anybody want more?
Maybe it was your dirty hand.
My hands are clean. I've
No, I
washed
got it
them
from his hand.
several times.
I was joking.
And so anyway, this is really good for all those different things. And it almost looks like it's just water, right? Now we get a couple drops. I don't have sinus problems, and I test this too often. Yeah, but you just get a couple drops in your hand, and then absorb all the water like a vacuum cleaner, right? In the one side and in the other side, right? Not lifting the hand up because then the water runs down your hand, right? Okay, ready?
Sure.
So you just snort it up with
Okay.
one side.
Both sides.
On both sides?
You caught the idea. Okay, only for 2 minutes, and it burns more when you've got sinus problems. It's making its way all into the different passages.
It obviously is working
And-
on me.
Go in my ear. My ears are
It gets all over the place. And you get it on both sides. Yeah? Okay. Doesn't smell.
both noses, both ears.
Yay. And anybody else?
I don't think I've ever had any sinus problems that I know of.
Okay. And so you can have more if you want, but you're probably burning enough as it is. Okay.
What is this called
And
again?
it's called kunapi.
Right.
It's an apostanaceae in the milkweed family, and so it just gets everything loose, and then you can blow your nose or spit. Sometimes people sneeze, and you get all that junk out, right? Sometimes it just loosens up and goes down your throat, and so, sometimes you don't even notice it. But for a chronic case, what we recommend is to snort it like that 3 times per day. Maybe when you first get up, when you're going to sleep, and when you're most congested. There's no overdose limit. It's all natural. It's mostly water. It's just got this natural plant in it, and so, like I say, if you got more congestion to get rid of, just snort more and get all that junk out. And one of the real surprising things is that if you do some exercise right after snorting it, while the congestion is loosened up, so you're breathing harder, you're going to get more junk out. In fact,
back down there, so we'll get some exercise.
And one time,
Is it still burning, or is it burning?
¿Alguien que dé la introducción?
Burning more in my ears now.
Alguien que dé la introducción.
No hay nadie ahí, ¿no?
I keep snorting the stuff that.
Por favor, Luis. And one time I snorted this, and we were working on vegetated sand filters, shoveling all the sand, and it was incredible how much crap came out.
It came out of your nose.
Yeah, how much junk you can have stored up, and it just gets it all out. And so what we recommend is to do that 3 times a day for a week, and you get rid of all that junk. And
It changes the blood flow.
we get a lot of people who come just by word of mouth. They hear about this, and they come to Puyo only looking for this tea to snort.
Really?
Yeah. And there's a medical doctor from Ambato who used to come every week for natural medicine. He stopped coming recently, but who knows why that is. But anyway, with Ecuadorians migrating to work in all places in the world, she had patients in Spain that ended up with sinus problems in the hospital, and I don't know what they were doing to the person there, but it wasn't logical.
Wasn't a nice thing to
wasn't,
do to
it
a
wasn't
person.
well thought out. And somehow this doctor from Ambato managed to mail our sinus liquid to the person in Spain. Someone took it to the hospital, the person snorted it, got all the junk out. Oh, I'm done. See you guys. and the Spanish doctors had no idea what happened. What they bring her from Ecuador.
I love Spain. It's a beautiful country. I wouldn't want to live there.